If you grew up in the 2000s, you knew what a fathead was. Athletes didn't just play on your screen, they lived on your wall. But after years off the cultural radar, Fathead didn't just need a rebrand, it needed a comeback.
Waking up every day and taking care of the blocking and tackling, understanding the X's and O's of the business in football terms. And we've set up pretty lengthy KPIs. And
Chris Hetherington isn't your typical CEO. He played 11 seasons in the NFL, came out of Yale, and rebuilt his life after losing everything in the Palisades fire. In this episode, we talk grit, family, fatherhood, and the future of a brand that defined a generation. From the locker room to leadership. From rebuilding a brand to rebuilding a life. Welcome to Coffeez. Quick break. Thinking of going independent? Don't do it alone. At eMortgage Capital, our hybrid broker-banker model gives you real support, instant lead access, 160-plus lenders, and nationwide reach in 46 states. No hidden fees, no fluff. Just a platform built for LOs who want freedom with firepower. Visit joinemortgagecapital.com and run your business your way.
Joe, thanks for having me. Good to see you. Appreciate it.
You know, you're a friend. Our kids play ball together.
Yeah.
It's great to have you. It's great to have you in Newport Beach now. You know, we're blessed to have you in our city. Now, I like to start off my show the same way I ask every single one of my guests. And Chris, what's your morning routine?
I got a crazy morning routine, Joe. I wake up at 4:30, between 4:30 and 4:44 every morning. I go immediately in the cold plunge. I do the sauna. I meditate for about 20 minutes, work out for about 45 minutes, and then go back home and wake the kids up and get ready for school. So, you know, no option for me when that alarm clock goes off at 4:30 or 4:44. I'm up every morning. So I enjoy it. It enables me to, you know, I still train like I'm a professional athlete, and I still treat my body like I'm a professional athlete, because I think being an entrepreneur and a business person, you know, you got to take care of your mind and your body. And so it's worked for me. It's not easy, but I stick to it, and that's my routine.
You know, the demand of an entrepreneur and a professional athlete are pretty similar. That's why the transition for professional athletes is not that bad, because they're used to such a rigorous grind.
You know, it's, in all honesty, Joe, it's hard for a lot of athletes. The transition from being a pro athlete to the real world, most of the time, is very difficult, in that, you know, you spend all this time and energy, you know, trying to live out this dream, and then when you're on this big stage and you're living your dream, you spend all the time and energy to stay there. And for me in particular, you know, I played 11 years in the NFL, and the chips were stacked against me. I came out, I was an undrafted rookie free agent out of Yale University, and I played quarterback in college. They made me a fullback in the NFL, and was lucky enough to play for a long time. But once you retire, you're like, shoot, what am I going to do next, right? What am I going to pour that discipline and that passion and those traits you learn from being an athlete? You know, what's my next identity? Like, how am I going to define myself? And the reality is, a lot of players really struggle with that. I feel lucky and blessed that I had a good education to fall back on, and, you know, knew the game wasn't going to last forever. So I started to prepare early on in my career, whether it be internships, et cetera. But yeah, you're being told where to go and what time to be at meetings. You're getting paid to work out. You're getting paid to take care of your body. And once that's gone, you know, guys really struggle with that.
Yeah, I know. We see a lot of failed athletes. I mean, we talked about this before. It's like a 90% failure rate.
Yeah.
After that, they just dwindle a lot of their money away. Plus, it's only a 2-year career for most.
Yeah.
You played 11 seasons. Yep. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah, I think the thing for me, you know, I made fullback money and didn't make quarterback money, and the money back in the late 90s and 2000 wasn't what it is today. But you know, again, I had a good foundation to fall back on, and you know, these athletes, you know, generally speaking, they tend to not surround themselves with the right people that are generally interested in their success after football, and you know, they get involved in these get rich quick ideas, or they want to, you know, these investors or owners want to use their brand to kind of leverage what they're doing from a business perspective. And yeah, it's sad. It's sad to see some of these guys get in trouble, and get poor advice and poor guidance. But it's hard. It's hard to like start, from a rookie again, right? Like when you're done with football, it's like, all right, what am I going to do? Some guys made a lot of money, and hopefully they take care of their money and make good decisions. But in general, guys really struggle.
You're not a normal athlete. I mean, you went to Yale. And that's a big deal. Then you went back to Harvard for some more certificates.
Yeah.
So you're a high level, high performing, high achieving, high intellectual athlete. It's not the standard. I mean, how many guys at that level in the NFL did you encounter?
Not many Ivy League guys. I would say there's a little more these days. I think with technology and scouting, if you're good enough to play, they'll find you. But yeah, I got lucky. I grew up right outside New Haven. I played Yale youth hockey as a kid. My brother was a great role model. He was 10 years older, went to Princeton. Neither one of my parents went to college. So I had these good role models, and academics were important to me from a young age. Obviously, I was lucky enough to be a great natural athlete, but school was definitely as important as athletics. And I'm sure we'll get into it, but I just get disappointed with some of these college athletes that are, I think there's great things around building your brand, but it's not necessarily about what school I'm going to go to and what kind of education I'm going to get. It's like, how much money are you going to pay me to come to this school? So I think that's a challenging situation. And to your point earlier, improve their football IQ and understand defenses, and they struggle, and sometimes it's surprising where you can be an outstanding college football player and come to the NFL and your game just doesn't transfer. And I think some of it's physical, but a lot of it's, intellectual.
So you're seeing now the demand, the game for college just totally has changed because of money, huh?
It has changed. I think some people would argue it's changed for the better. I don't have a problem with these athletes getting paid. I think they're incredible assets to their universities and institutions. But I think the value of education has definitely been minimized, and that bums me out. Like, obviously, I had a different path. I went to a good Ivy League school and was lucky enough to play a long time. But I had that to fall back on. I mean, you can always go back to school, and I read LinkedIn, and some people are arguing about this kid from Duke, whether he should stay at Duke or.
You're talking about the basketball player?
Basketball player.
Cooper?
Yeah, but it's hard to argue that guaranteed money in the NBA. You can always go back to school.
Yeah. I mean, we need him in the NBA. There's no other hot draft pick besides him. He's the biggest thing that's coming out of
Dallas got
right
him
now.
in the lottery, right? Dallas, yeah.
Yeah, they just got him.
Yeah.
I'm excited about Cooper Flag. We don't have any big draft picks right now.
Yeah, he's going to be good. He's going to be a good pro, for sure.
So let's talk about your business now. Like successful business. How did you acquire Fathead?
Good question. By luck. I've been involved in a lot of different businesses. I worked for a hedge fund for 11 years after I retired from football, and was fortunate enough to have a bunch of different roles within that hedge fund. I was a trader for a couple of years. I ran a business in Tokyo into the big earthquake and tsunami in 2011, came back, helped launch a co-invest fund where we worked with that strategy for about 5 years, and then got more involved in the private equity venture capital side of our business. So I had a couple of CEO roles of companies we invested in. Fathead kind of fell into my lap, Joe, serendipitously. One of my close friends from Yale lives in Detroit, got to know the former owner and CEO, Tony. The story is Dan Gilbert owned this brand for a long time, and Dan had some health issues about 5 years ago, and so Tony took over the business, and essentially I convinced him to sell it to us. I put together a really experienced group of partners and brand builders and operators and executives that had deep relationships in sports and entertainment and culture. And it's funny, I reflect back in the story. I mean, we looked at this brand and we're like, 194 licenses with some of the most epic IP in sports and entertainment, 2 million email subscribers, over 300,000 SMS subscribers. We're like, is this a melting ice cube or a sleeping giant? And the more we dug in, the more we realized with the brand equity and the brand awareness and the own database and these exceptional products and the opportunity to expand from a product innovation standpoint and start to incorporate technology and automation and AI, we have a really special opportunity. And now for us, it's about focus and execution. And there's just a lot of low-hanging fruit to this business. And I'm sure we'll get into it, with the technology advancements we're making. But I feel very blessed. It's fun for me to be back in sports again and leverage these relationships I built over the last 30 years and participating in these template events that are happening in sports and culture. And it's fun.
And you're getting back in the weeds. You're out on the field. You're making new business relationships.
Yeah.
You're back in the sports entertainment world.
I
You
feel like it's,
podcast all the time.
I'm saying this in a humble way, Joe, but I feel like it's everything I built my career towards was for this moment to be able to take hold of a really great brand and bring it back to life in a big way and take it to new heights in a big way, and it's all about team, right? Like I really have spent a lot of time assembling the right team, and we just hired a new CMO
Tell me.
2 weeks ago, Jared Doobie, who's a phenomenal guy with a ton of experience and expertise in sports and culture, and I have a really great COO, Jason Turner. Jen Beaver's our Chief Partnership Officer. I've known her since my days at the Colts in the late 90s, and so team and culture is really important, as you know, as a business and organization. A lot of the stuff that I learned from sports, translates into what I'm doing now. And we have a really big opportunity, and I'm excited to be on this journey.
A lot of my team members here, when I told them that the CEO of Fathead was coming, they were like, "What? CEO of Fathead?" Because the brand authority associated with Fathead is like, it's decades deep.
Yep.
It's
There's a lot. It's they had a lot of nostalgia back in the day. They came out with big decals and big moves and big statements and big athlete ambassadors and to your point, the brand equity and brand awareness is phenomenal. And now it's our job to, it's been out of the conversation, out of culture for the last 4 or 5 years, and but we have an incredible opportunity to bring it back in a big way and make a big impact in culture. Youth sports is massive, so we're attacking that in a big way, and really maximizing these licensed partners we have, and then starting to expand distribution, potentially expand into other categories outside of sports and entertainment. And so it's exciting, man. But at the end of the day, we're a brand, right? We're a brand, we're a product, and then eventually we're a service. But nailing that brand and investing in brand is really our focus. We've been playing that bottom of the funnel kind of day trading ROAS game, Meta, Google, but now you got to invest in brand. You got to bring this brand back to culture in a big way, talk to people in the right way, live in these channels where consumers are at. As you know, I mean, back in the day, it was all over TV and Super Bowl commercials and ESPN. Now it's social selling, live selling, affiliate partnerships, influencer partnerships. And so, we treat that really serious.
Yeah, it's all omnipresent now. You can't just be on one channel.
No, got to be everywhere.
Actually, TV doesn't matter.
Yep.
You don't even need TV anymore.
Yeah.
You need to be You need to be doing the podcasts. Your social game needs to be tight. You need to be doing, book releases, like everything.
Yep.
I tell my team within the, because what our company is, we're in the business of making companies. So everyone that belongs to eMortgage runs their own company. So, they got to basically continue to add more legs on their table. And I look at a leg as, this is Facebook. Another leg is Instagram. Another leg is LinkedIn. Another leg is TikTok.
Yep.
Another leg is Snapchat. Another leg is podcast. Another leg is,
Yeah.
So they need 100 legs.
Yeah.
And you just got to keep adding. With your company, I mean, the sky's the limit because you could be everywhere.
Yeah.
You could be everywhere. Now, what kind of product innovations can you really roll out with Fathead? I mean, it's a decal company. Like, what is there to do? Like, when we talk about innovation, like, I'm curious myself, like, how do you innovate in that space?
Well, first of all, we have a great vision. We hired an incredible product team to help us make not only data-driven decisions, currently, but also, with our product innovation roadmap. We have goals of getting into collectibles, limited editions, one of ones, one of 100s. But we bought a technology company early on, and pretty robust tech stack, and get into AI, AR, get into metaverse, blockchain. But essentially, in the future, we want to create a fan engagement platform, and these decals will become portals to trigger content, and so we're really excited about that roadmap. But our total addressable market, Joe, is almost overwhelming, and we're known for our big life-size vinyl decals. They're
Yeah.
incredible products, removable, reusable. We have the minis, which haven't been marketed properly over the last several years. I think that's some of the most marketable products we have. We have the cheering products, or the big heads in the stadiums and
Yep.
arenas and ballparks. Um, those are kind of the licensed products, standouts, and dry erase boards. We sold a lot of brackets for March Madness. We gamified that this year for the first time. So that's kind of your licensed products, all the major sports leagues, players associations, NASCAR, WWE. And then on the custom side, which I think is a massive growth opportunity, Fathead yourself, or your son wins. Our sons play together. Let's say they win the championship. They want to capture that moment with a decal or a product. Birthdays, graduations, bar mitzvahs. We sell a lot of pets. That's really capturing these moments that are happening in life and in culture and families, if you will. And so, the combination of these licensed products, these major partnerships with these iconic, IP, and then the custom side of the business, like I mentioned earlier, youth sports is a big category, 65 billion by 2030, right? And so we're partnering with a lot of the biggest youth sports organizations to make a real impact in youth sports. And that's our demo, right? Your son or my son. The day we bought the business, I ordered my son a Christian McCaffrey from the 49ers life-size decal. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And then I made custom decals for my son's Pally 8U All-Star team, and a big life size, and these minis they can send to grandma and grandpa in Connecticut, and they can put them on their refrigerator, or Stanley's, and so the best brands innovate, as you know, right? So we have a lot of opportunities with the IP and license we have, and then a ton of opportunities on the custom side to innovate and come up with different product formats or et cetera. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And I think there's you're also skipping corporate partnerships too. You
Yeah,
can
huge opportunity.
you haven't even touched that space.
Yeah, they did that historically. Insurance companies order $20,000 worth of product, or we're in a suite at an NFL game, highlighting the sponsor of the game or the sponsor suite. There's a lot of things we can do as far as installations and stuff like that on the corporate side. But yeah, it's sky's the limit. I think for me, our kind of mantra around Fathead is either hell yes or not yet. Like, we have all these relationships and all these opportunities, but really for us, there's 3 to 4 core pillars that we're focused on, which are the big growth levers and the low hanging fruit in the short term.
Collectibles, especially now with the grading, the PSA grading is dominating sports right now. And matter of fact, my son, I got him into sports collectibles, and I actually enrolled him in a course. This is not a college course. This is adults are in this Zoom every,
Amazing.
2 times a week. And it's basically adults who went from trading, stocks, now they're trading cards.
Yeah.
And for a kid to understand the dynamics of business, they have to really like it. So he really likes sports. So it's it translates over. But I'm seeing this resurgence in collectibles, bigger than it's ever been,
huge.
100 times bigger. So what are you guys doing in the sports collectible world? That market is bananas. It's
we're planning it out. I think for us, we're all about fandom, right? We're about celebrating fandom. We're fans ourselves, right? I was a professional athlete, but I'm a huge fan of sports, and I admire what these athletes are doing. I admire these successful organizations and what they're doing to build championship teams, but I'm also a fan of my kids and my wife, and so if I can capture those special moments through our products, it's really special. But we have a lot of plans, Joe, to really make an impact in that space. I have a lot of friends in that space.
In the collectible space?
Yeah, but it's kind of plan B or phase 2 of the business. We have so many products to sell and
to scale.
To scale. And so, we spent a lot of time over the last, I would say, year and a half, really cleaning up the business, optimizing the business, improving unit economics in a big way. I mean, the only really way to meaningfully scale the business is to nail unit economics. And so we've amended some vendor agreements and got new partners in here. And now it's about growth, but it's about intentional and profitable and sustainable growth. And so starting to expand distribution. We've been 99% D2C over the last several years. And so, we'll expand distribution. We'll get into retail eventually, but you got to have the resources and the infrastructure to support that move. And like I said, we have an opportunity to sell a lot of decals and a lot of big heads and a lot of minis and a lot of standouts. And that's what we're about these days, but big plans in the future for sure.
I could definitely see a Fathead store at like Irvine Spectrum.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
that would be
Right next to Lids.
That'd be
or
the
in
cool
the Lids store. We're working with Lids.
I know it's next door to Lids. You would just, but
Yeah.
maybe a threat to them.
Yeah, yeah. It could be a partnership. We're working on that, but
So you plan something like that? You're thinking about having a Fathead store, like just direct.
Down the road, yeah, I think there'd be a time and a place for that. You gotta live where people are, right? Like, you know what Walmart's doing, Target, Amazon. That's where people shop. At least the masses shop there. Yeah. So you have to be there.
Yeah, the Irvine Spectrum play would be just a brand play, just to get a couple 100,000 views a day.
Yeah. Yep.
On more Fathead exposure.
Yep. 100%.
So, Fathead's been, such a staple in sports memorabilia. Right now, the innovation strategies you're implementing are technology. There's digital. You're planning to go consumer direct from a store perspective. And then how does AI play in that world?
So AI is going to be a big part of our business. We're essentially, I won't give you the secret sauce, but we engaged a company, a partner, who has a patent on persona-driven marketing. So just getting really smart about how we target customer. Yeah, we're essentially creating this golden database, or this single source of truth, which collects all of your Shopify information and all the information elsewhere to really help us create persona-driven marketing campaigns, whether it's email, SMS, organic, et cetera. And we think that's going to provide a nice little lift to our business. Your landing page experience will be different than mine and different than your wife or my 11-year-old son. And that's really the way to get smarter about targeting consumers. And I would say we have an interesting opportunity, Joe, because our return customer rate's only about 22-23%. And so through better data-driven marketing, we can really increase that. Your wife, who may order Theo, his favorite athlete, on Christmas, didn't know that we also have products for your daughter. So it's a way to really reach those consumers and drive up that return customer rate. But also, there's a lot of consumers that didn't know Fathead was still in business. And
we fell off for like a decade.
Yeah, we fell off like 4 or 5 years, 6 years. But we still have amazing products and amazing IP. And so we have a really great opportunity to capture new customers that aren't familiar with our brand. And once they see our brand and feel our brand, and they love it, and then they're going to start to order more. And so it's all marketing, as you know, right? It's all investing in brand and having exceptional partnerships and having the right team and the right execution plan. But investing in brand is critical. Like I said, we do bottom of funnel pretty well, kind of playing this ROAS game. But for us in particular, Fathead, that's been around for a long time, we need to invest in brand, top of the funnel.
Yeah, 23% return rate on a brand like Fathead. What's going to be your retarget strategy to bring them back into your funnel?
AI. Yeah. AI.
It shouldn't be a big drop off unless they just don't need decals, or whatever.
Yeah, different formats, different IP, and then customs. Like I said, customs is a no-brainer. Our return customer rate's higher in customs as in license, but yeah, it's like I said, getting involved in youth sports. We're doing these big camps that are. We have a partner called Flexwork Sports. We're working on a group called Base Sports. We're doing an activation at a tournament in Colorado over 4th of July weekend, where there's like 1,500 teams times 15 kids per team. These young girls playing softball. That's a really way to make consumers aware of our brand, and then once they see our products, they'll love them. But you got to participate in these events. NFL, NBA, NHL, MLB. We got to show up in culture and bring this brand back to cultural relevance again.
Do you have a team that goes to like trade shows?
I'm going to the licensing show next week with my partners. Yeah, we got to show up there too. That's a good way to establish relationships and build on partnerships and create for, future partnerships. But yeah, you got to show up at these events big time, Joe.
In transitioning from the NFL now, CEO of Fathead, what do you think's been like one of the most valuable lessons you've learned?
I've learned a lot of lessons. I think team is important for me. So a lot of the things I learned in sports is having the right team, having the right culture, having the right vision, getting everybody to buy into the vision, talk about the brand in the same way, be aligned with the KPIs and the goals. I've had some successes in my career. I've had some failures and some mistakes, and I think the best entrepreneurs learn from those mistakes and learn from those failures and grow from them and don't make the same mistake twice. I think a thing that was a real game changer in my career was to being open to having mentors in my life and asking for help in my life has been crucial. I'm a part of some really special communities and surrounded by really successful people that are really have an authentic interest in your success. And I also, on the other side, I try to be a mentor of some of these young athletes and be transparent in what some of my challenges were and some of the things I've done well. But I think having a growth mindset is really been the key for me. But yeah, I think what it boils down to is team and culture and execution and focus.
What's one thing that you could think of that a mentor told you that's like you live by frequently or daily?
Surrounding yourself with people that add value to your life. Yeah. I mean, especially being an athlete back in the day, people want to be around athletes and sometimes they're not there for the most authentic reasons. So I think, in business and in life, right? Your friend groups, and you got to be around people that add value and not extract value all the time and have a genuine interest in your success. And I've been lucky. I think I'm still talking to some of these kids I grew up with and a lot of people I went to high school with and college with, and certainly keep in contact with a lot of guys I played with in the NFL. And, I think it all boils down to having the same values and being good people and cheering each other on. And some people get envious or jealous, and it's like, look, man, I'm just a normal dude trying to live out a dream and be a great dad and be a great husband and there's some bad people out there obviously, but not me, and I think it's important to surround yourself with the right people. And then being a role model for my kids is important to me, having them see me work out like a maniac in the morning, get up at 4:30 and
Encourages them.
eat well and have this keto diet that I follow religiously 6 days a week. And then Sundays I have some fun and eat pancakes and donuts with my kids. And you got to live a little bit. But yeah, it's important for me to be a good role model. It's important for me to teach my kids some of these things that I wasn't taught as a young kid about leadership and being a great teammate and being accountable and having a great attitude and effort and energy. And nobody taught me that as a kid. So it's been special to try to, in a non-aggressive way, right? Like, I feel like my kids, I don't know if you've seen this being at baseball, but like, Jack's old man played in the NFL for 11 years. And I think he has some inherent pressure. And so it's my job to make him feel that he doesn't have pressure. And I'm proud of him. I want him to be a great player, but I want him to be a great kid and have a good attitude and be a great teammate and all that stuff. So it's been fun.
Hey, he's a great kid. He's a great athlete, man. The best athlete we've seen in Newport for a minute.
Yeah, I appreciate it. He's a good kid. And he works hard. He's like me. It's hard to teach that. It's hard to teach kids to work hard. And, he's on his iPad looking at baseball videos and instructional videos. It's hard to teach that, as you know. And I think youth sports are an incredible opportunity. We talked about your son. Like, he's a great kid too, man. And he's a great teammate and hopefully he's having a great experience. But it's important for these kids socially to be involved in youth sports and do things that maybe they're not used to doing or not great at. And so getting better every day. My son tries to get better every day, as I'm sure your son. And but I think socially,
off. Sports, baseball especially, it's kind of like one of those year-round things.
It is.
Like,
which I sometimes have a problem with. I think I was a better athlete and a better NFL player because I played multiple sports. I went to high school, this prep school in Connecticut, Avon Old Farms, and it was mandatory. We played 3 sports, and I thought that was great for me personally in my development as an athlete. parents, as you know, are nuts these days. They get their kids focused on one sport and put a lot of pressure on them or try to live vicariously through them. And
Yeah.
I think that's bad.
You played 3 sports year round?
I played 3 sports in high school and two in college. I played football and baseball. I played baseball my first couple of years. And then I got hurt my junior year in baseball. But yeah, I loved it. And it was who I was. But I will say I went to this prep school in Connecticut, like I said, and it really taught me how to manage my time and balance between athletics and academics. And I felt like when I went to Yale, I had somewhat of a head start where, it was just semi-natural for me. Obviously, Yale was a tough place academically, but I think I learned how to manage my time effectively, from that experience in high school.
I mean, you were grinding young. Actually, kind of pivoting, I like to talk about family a little bit. And, one thing, and I don't know how you grew up, but, fiscally, but now your kids are growing up in a different position fiscally. And having come from the roots that we've come from, not having the same resources, it taught us a lot about grit. It taught us a lot about time management. It taught us a lot about how to become the entrepreneurs and success stories we are today. How are you instilling that same mindset in your children now? Same level of grit to grind. You're doing a great job doing it.
Yeah, I think it's important. I mean, I grew up from pretty humble beginnings. My dad was always a very hard worker. My dad was a salesman, and he owned a golf driving range on the side. And then my freshman year at Yale, he bought a municipal 9-hole golf course. So I've always been around golf, but my dad was always a hard worker, and I always had that role model. And then my brother, like I said, was 10 years older, went to Princeton. He's been working at Merrill Lynch since 1986 and does very well. So for me, it's teaching my kids the lessons like, look, nothing is given to you. You got to work hard. And you got to grind. And, my job as a parent or your job as a parent to put your kids in the right surroundings to hopefully set them up for success. But just because you go to a great school or live in a great, neighborhood or town, you got to put in the work. And so that's my biggest message to Cole and Jack is you're fortunate enough to be in this situation and where you live in the sunshine and go to the good school and up, but you got to work hard and you got to grind. You got to put in the work.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, and it's hard to teach that. You talked about, Jack putting in that work, now looking at videos on his iPad about instructional videos. And I mean, that's hard. That's hard for a kid to do and not want to play games.
There's a lot of distractions now, right? These kids are gamers and social media. We didn't have social media when I was a kid, or I didn't have social media when I played in the NFL. So there's a lot of distractions, and there's a lot of companies and brands like fighting for attention. But my job as a parent, and my wife does a great job of this too, is to really get our kids to focus on what's important. And our house burned down in the Palisades, as you know, and I think that was a good example of and a teaching lesson, a life lesson of like, look, we're healthy, we're safe, we have each other, and that's the most important thing. These material things could be replaced or not important, but we have each other, we have our health and our safety, and we'll rebuild our life. But we got to stay strong as a family unit. I'm really proud of my wife. She did an incredible job through that experience. And, these are good lessons for our kids. Like, stuff happens in life. And it's how I'm a big fan of stoicism. And it's not necessarily about, don't worry about the things you can't control and just worry about the things you can control. Can't control that our house burned down, but we control how we react to it and how we rebuild our life and how we remain a strong family unit.
What a life lesson these kids learn. What a life lesson you learned, from that experience. And by design, I've intentionally not wanted to address that subject because it's a very, forget about emotional. I don't even know how to describe an experience like that. But what, overcoming that tribulation must have been hard on you and the kids. How
it was very hard.
That transition.
It was tough. To be transparent, it was tough. When your community is gone, not only our house and our neighbors' houses. 7,000 houses, but the thing about the Pacific Palisades, Joe, is it was a really special community, and it was like kind of a bubble in LA, and to wake up one day and that's gone is tough, and it's humbling, and some people can look at that as an opportunity to learn from and grow from, and or you can go in the tank. And we made a decision as a family to focus on what are we going to do in the short term to provide some sense of normalcy for our kids. And that was, we moved around a couple times, and then we had some friends move to Corona Del Mar, and we're like, wow, this seems great. This is a good short-term decision. We'll get in a good community, get the kids back playing sports again, get them in a good school, surround ourselves with good people. And now we're like, all right, what's our long-term plan here? And that's what my wife and I are trying to figure out. But it was a bummer, man. To look, if it wasn't such a special community, it would be a little different, I think. Maybe not, but to really have that great community and have that being ripped away from you was hard, especially when you have two young kids. I mean, these kids have been through COVID, and then they've been through losing. I mean, they lost their school, their church, their sports facilities. All their friends are dispersed. It was nuts.
What's nice to see is the Palisades community here in Newport Beach as a community again.
Yeah.
It's like another community of the Palisades here in Newport. And they're all amazing people. Yeah. Everybody there. And they've probably become more amazing from that experience just because it's such a humbling experience.
Yeah, it is humbling. But I will say the people that we met in Newport have been so gracious and welcoming and empathetic, and the people that have moved to this area from Palisades are all good people, and they're going through hard times, and they want to try to find that community again, and which is important. And I think the people of Newport and Corona Del Mar have done an incredible job of welcoming us and opening up their homes or their sports teams and stuff like that. So it's been a easier experience, I will say.
Well, opening up the sports teams is easy when all these stud athletes are coming. Parents were pros, you're just making our kids better.
Yeah,
you guys are trying.
It's it's been a good experience, and I mean the kids are pretty good athletes, but they just want to be part of a team, man. And it's important for them to get back on teams. And my son Jack, my 11-year-old, is playing in the Pally All-Stars, so he'll get a chance to spend some time with his friends this summer, which is he's super excited about. And then again, these parents, we spend a lot of time with these parents, and they're we're lucky. They're really good people and inspiring people and fun to be around, and successful people, and that's important, right? If you're spending so much time in the summer and dragging your kid to Simi Valley and Chino, and it's been a great experience for me personally to be around these good people and watch our kids have so much fun.
And I don't know what's going to happen with the Palisades now, or a lot of Malibu. I don't know if there's going to be a rebuild strategy for that city.
It's going to take a long time. I think some people are very anxious about getting back and building, and some people are kind of sitting on the sidelines for a while. But I do think it's going to take a long time, Joe. And I don't know if that community will ever be the same. I hope so, but I just don't know. So we'll see what happens.
Well, God be with you guys. Couple last questions I have for you. What's a personal goal that you have for yourself, a goal that you have for the family, and then a goal that you have for Fathead?
My goal every day is to show up in the best way I can and get better every day. Show up as a person for myself, show up as a dad, as a husband, as a friend, as a leader, as a teammate. I mean, that's really my goal every day is to show up in the best way I can. Long term, it's how do I want my legacy to be, right? And for me, that's being a good person, being a good friend, a good dad, a good husband, all that stuff. But being an accountable human being and being a good human being. And so I have goals professionally. I want to build Fathead to the moon and have a lot of fun doing it and make an impact in not only my team and my partners, my investors, but our fans and our customers, right? That's important to me too.
And then one last question.
Yep.
Ask everybody this question. When you're in front of the pearly gates, what do you think God's going to tell you?
Good job.
Let's go.
Yep.
Chris, if people want to connect with you, how do they find you?
I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. I don't have a huge presence on X, but I'm on there. Not really on Facebook much, but yeah, LinkedIn's my platform for business. Instagram, personally, I think we talked about it. I got to build out my social platforms and want to hire some people that do that with me. And yeah, it's fun, man. It's fun doing these podcasts and telling my story and learning from you, who's been a successful entrepreneur. Like, I enjoy this stuff, and hopefully do a lot more of it.
I always learn from every one of my guests, and it's just it's a blessing to just be sitting here and just asking questions. Like I don't even use my questions.
Yeah.
Like I just
great.
Off the cuff.
You're good at it.
I just try to be a student.
Yeah.
And it was a pleasure to have you. Thank you. God bless you. God bless your family. I hope you hit every one of your goals. And thanks for coming on the show.
Appreciate having me. It was a pleasure. Thanks, John.
All right, Chris Hetherington, a legend, Fathead. Make sure to connect.